Hello, everybody. It's Friday night and it is Weekender time once more. And on this week's show, we're going to be serving you up a whole host of hobby goodness from across the gaming industry straight to your doorstep. On this week's show, you also have a chance to win the new Conquest Last Argument of Kings 2-player starter set, featuring the magnificent Nords and the absolutely spectacular city-states. If you want to win this glorious prize, then you need to be a subscriber to the YouTube channel. Pop a comment below, and if you can share us around, that really helps out as well. Otherwise, sit back and relax, because your weekend starts here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm joined by Shay, John, and Benjamino to take you through this week's news. We have a little brief update. You may or may not have noticed that there's been a little bit of controversy going on in the world of gaming.
Oh, spice, tea. Ooh.
Yeah, we're not going to jump on board the 101 videos of Wizards of the Coast, but we did put together a couple of news articles based on what you can do to avoid having to deal with it.
Yeah, so if you have been following it and or if you've not been following it, a bunch of companies have come together to kind of build on the announcements from Wizards of the Coast and their changes to the OGL, which is their open gaming license. One of the big things was that Paizo announced that they're going to be putting together what they've called the Orc, which is an open RPG creative license, which will allow you, a whole bunch of creatives, third-party creatives essentially, to build things without the fears of what was happening with the Coast and stuff. So that's going to be coming together. All the details are there for that, including a bunch of the sort of different companies that have joined in to help with that at the same time as well. So, as a lot of people say, there's no wrong way to have fun. But if you wanted to look at alternative RPGs beyond Dungeons and Dragons and wanted to go beyond that, then make sure to go and check that out. We talked about all of this in our Cult of Games XLBS last week. So if you want to find out more about that, maybe go and grab a free trial, or if you've got a sub, go and watch that video. And we talked at great length with Warren and Lloyd all about that and stuff. But the other thing we did was, there'll be a lot of people out there that are looking for some alternatives to Dungeons and Dragons. So I put together an article that kind of broke down a variety of different RPGs, including Pathfinder, as you can see there, that you could go and explore. There are loads and loads of companies out there that are making role-playing games, some that are very similar to Dungeons and Dragons, in the case of Paizo and Pathfinder and Starfinder and stuff. And there are some that are very, very different. Osprey Games do an amazing selection of different offerings for role-playing games at the moment, and they're doing even more this year. Cubicle 7 obviously have the Warhammer games, which are amazingly good fun. Oh, yes. Love a bit of Warfrup. I'm playing as a Dwarf Slayer at the moment, baby. Of course I am. And then you've got me
surprised.
You've got, as I say there as well, the Nordic giants that are Free League Publishing, who do a whole host of amazing games using the Year Zero engine and beyond for you to dive into and have fun with. And a lot of the community members have also dived into the comments as well there and on social media to share the kind of games that they enjoy playing as well. So if you're someone who is a little bit stuck for what to do, if you don't really want to, get on the Wizards of the Coast bandwagon or play some D&D, maybe go and check out some of these alternative role-playing games. Because I know, a fair few of you play role-playing games and stuff, so make sure to go and check those out and see what you think. Because,
I've been known to roll a few dice on occasion. Never a single D20 if I can avoid it, mind you. It's a terrible way of role-playing.
Jerry always plays with advantage. He will never roll a single D20.
I will roll a D20 if I can possibly avoid it. If I want to roll percentile dice, I'll roll D100 and not D20. What's the point going up or down in fives in increments? It's terrible. It's shocking. It's god awful. I hate it. I hate it so much. Anyway, so if you fancy checking out some RPG stuff, there's that doesn't even scratch the surface. My God.
God, no. I say in the article, this is just my selection of things. There are far too many role-playing games out there to even list all of the good ones. But make sure to go and check that out and see what you think, because there are lots of other alternatives out there. So.
Yeah, don't need to worry about big companies swallowing up the industry. At least not until we hit the 40K section of the news.
Oh, yes. The mandated section of the news.
Right. So with that in mind, we're going to take a complete swing of the rudder and bear due indie away from all the big companies and find somebody with the small pictures as well. No Lloyds or no postage stamp pictures this week. But they're still not huge. So that's quite good, because it is, of course, the indie of the week. And this week, we're going to be taking a look at some Canadians from Canada with Harwood Hobbies, the tiny little company. One-man operation out of Calgary, I think. Only has 3 ranges currently. Tiny, little, bespoke. The first one, and the reason I came here, was because he does a set of Lovecraft miniatures.
I immediately like these.
Now, I don't know who the sculptor in question is, and as you go through, you'll see that not every range is completely sculpted 100% by the same sculptor. So the miniatures, whether all 28mm figures, you can see different styles of sculpting aesthetic in there. But the Lovecraft range is really nice because it has people who are changing, shall we say, over time.
I love that. You've got, this I am evil bald guy.
Yeah.
Justin. No.
We'll get to Justin. He's not in this range. He is the very first in Sinbad, though.
Right, okay.
But
then, oh my God, my creations have escaped.
Yes.
All out the cat.
Yes.
Yeah. And at which point then he didn't make it out of the surgery.
That's amazing. I love that.
And also there's a very important tip for anybody who decides to roleplay Call of Cthulhu, is you always save your last bullet for yourself.
Yeah.
So when the zombies are coming, don't empty the mag at them. You're just going to end up like this. Always save the last one for yourself. But we have a whole host of weird and wacky. Tamara. I used to know somebody called Tamara who was also very short. I wonder if that's her.
Why am I? Is that the character from the Fear games? Tamara, I can't remember, or is it something else?
I don't know. I don't know what the Fear games are.
Yeah. Very good game.
Okie dokie.
First person spooky shooter.
All right, definitely not. Definitely not. I'll close some of these down. We have creepy Dr. Schwartz.
And then, oh God, again, the creations have escaped.
The scared version is particularly nice. Yeah. Is it because this is coming rumbling down the corridor?
Probably, yeah.
With
something thing-like is crawling down the halls.
Well, you say thing-like, I can see very deliberate stitch marks in there. Which I'm saying Dr. Schwartz really shouldn't have done that. There's no point in being scared now.
That's actually bashful, Dr. Schwartz. Oh no, what have I done?
You've made your bed, now lie in it.
All I can say is, never learn summon before you learn bind as a spell in Cthulhu. Just saying.
Yeah.
And armed, I don't think that's going to help you, matey boy. I mean,
that's amazing.
I'm fairly certain she's got the reach on you.
Yeah.
Yep. You're in.
My blade's bigger than yours. Yeah.
We have Betty Fine. Which, a set
Betty,
4 this time.
Betty not fine.
Betty not fine. Scared, Betty armed, and Betty zombified. Yeah. And at this point, these are all relatively generic. Cthulhu is set 1920. And these could easily work for that. I mean, he's very Dr. Horrible sing-along blog.
Yes.
With his buttoned up lab coat going on. So these all work perfectly for anything 20s. But there are some modern bits and pieces. So I did say he was in Canada. There are the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So poor constable there. He did not survive contact with the enemy, apparently. Which means you could use some of these for, if you wanted to run a Walking Dead skirmish game set in Canada, you could do that. There's your hero, or maybe later on he gets bitten up. And then these, Dr. Borgesian. That looks a lot more like whoever sculpted for studio miniatures. It's that
It's
same
up a
sort
little
of
bit,
style.
doesn't it? Yeah.
And it's got a nice mug of coffee. So you have a nice blend of modern day in with the 1920s creeping unknown.
Mm-hmm.
She's even taken her pumps off to run, which makes so much sense. And I don't think you ever really see that. I can't run in these heels, lose them. Speed is required, not fashion. Speed.
They also act as a weapon.
That is
You
true.
Whap someone with one of those.
Or maybe it's just aiming to buff the stealth roll by taking the clickety-clacks.
Maybe true,
yeah.
Yeah.
But I love these. They're a really nice set of generic civilians / armed civilians, so post-apocalyptic or just random scenery dotting to have them as the civilians. The zombie crawler and the glorp. The zombie crawler is great. I don't see enough of these in zombie form on the tabletop.
Yeah.
They seem to be very slack. Most zombies seem to have legs, which is utterly disappointing when they could be leaving a terrible mess across the floor like that.
Around. Yeah.
You look down and see somebody, tugging on your trouser leg. Could be a cat, could be a zombie crawler. Could go either way. Best not look down, just aim the gun and blam blam blam. And the glorp, who's a
big ooze man.
There we go. Hello.
I like to think that glorp is the sound that he makes when he tries to talk as well.
Yeah.
Like he's like a Pokemon.
Yes. Glorp, glorp. Glorp,
As he comes claying his way towards you, like Clayface from Batman. It's a weird looking thing. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be in the scale of. There's plenty of weird stuff in mythos that it could be. It's entirely possible as a glorp, to be perfectly honest. And I just am unaware of glorpings and their glorpiness. Then we have the set of the changed. So the priest, the woman, the skullgirl, the mechanic. We can see them all together in glorious Technicolor here.
You can see what has really changed.
Show me there. Yeah. So mechanic, priesto, creepy kid with half a teddy bear, and the lady who doesn't look too well. Again.
So that's why the priest's weird.
Oh, don't worry. They all get there in the end. Because there's a more advanced version.
Oh, okay.
I think is the way to put it. But you'll see those later on where they've gone full.
You got hazmat people as well. That's cool.
Yeah. So your Delta Green, you've got your modern day hazmats, suited and booted. You've got some sort of heroic type. I imagine about to be surrounded and pulled down by all the creepy people. Ruby, Mr. Carswell, who is either summoning something, and I really hope he's learned bind, or Mr. Carswell is just a big metalhead.
Maybe, yeah.
Lovecraft summoner.
Why can't he be both?
That's true. Yeah.
That is true.
He's summoning Satan to fight Cthulhu by the ways of heavy metal.
Yeah.
That makes
My
sense.
lord is darker than you.
We also have cultists.
Well, I like the demonic dweller. That's cool.
There he is. He arrives and discovers that Cthulhu's about 200 times the size, radioactive, and just goes back to hell immediately. So
it
range
just
of
gets turned back into ectoplasm. Yeah.
Cultist types. We also have creepy zombie clowns.
Of course. Yep.
And the choo-choos. Almost undoubtedly how it's not pronounced, but it's how I've always pronounced it. They are actually a Cthulhu race. They're
really
they're like near humans from South Asia. So think more evil pygmy.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
Some more proper 1920s flapper girls and stuff. So just a really nice little set of Cthulhu figures.
Definitely.
Obviously,
cool.
You don't want to be playing your RPGs with miniatures. That's just wrong. So you can use
But you
these
can
as
play
skirmish
7TV with these, of course.
Hello.
Yeah, so yeah,
But yeah, apart from the
that's fun.
the Lovecraftian, there is Sinbad. And apparently,
Oh, I see
There
what
he
you
is.
mean.
Yep. Right off the bat, Justin.
Yeah.
So this was the first range that I believe Harwood Hobbies started with.
Cool.
It was specifically because he wanted to do a range based on the classic Harryhausen films. Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, something like that. It's been so long, so very, very long since I've seen them. But these are absolutely gorgeous.
They're amazing. Yeah.
I suppose heroic pulp fantasy. I mean, Sinbad's one of it comes from Arabian Nights originally before it got Hollywooded up, so it's a very, very old tale.
Yeah, definitely.
But it means you've got a line of Arabian style, shall we say, heroes and villains, all with that sort of Hollywood-esque twist to them. The Kali cultist leader.
The Dervish Avenger. Oh, he's cool.
Yeah.
Or she's cool, whichever.
Oh, they're all cool. Yeah, coming at you with Chris.
Oh, I love these. Yeah.
And this is an unusual little line because you rarely see people leaning heavily on the Arabian side of fantasy.
Yeah, we don't tend to see a lot of that, do we? Yeah.
Western biased, I suppose.
Oh, so cool. That is a D&D character waiting in the wings.
Some sort of thief / assassin.
Yeah.
Assassin.
I have a blade for every enemy.
Big curvy swords,
Yeah.
which is always good. What else we got? Dragon familiars. I suppose I'll have to, because otherwise I'll get told off for not showing dragons. Downy
I like
dragons.
That. Yeah. These dragons are far away.
These dragons are bounced on top of a packet of cigarettes to give you an idea of size. I'm not sure how
the ultimate reference material.
But if it's any help, that's a 20 deck, kids. So just like the size of 5 vapes tied together. So I don't know. Modern.
These strange modern conversions, right?
You know that meme where Americans will use anything to avoid using the metric system? Like he was the size of 15 hamburgers. I know he's Canadian, but it feels like that. These dragons, two of these dragons, wing to wing, are the size of a packet of Lucky Strikes. Who else have we got?
Sinbad himself.
We have Sinbad himself, yeah. And we have the evil wizard.
Al-Qadar.
I haven't seen Patrick Troughton yet, the second Doctor.
It's like the thing that we always said it would be amazing if we had if there was like a Prince of Persia style game. Because I remember we were thinking about doing kind of like a
side-scrolling game on
side-scrolling game, yeah.
A vertical board at one stage, yeah.
But that seems like it would be something that would be ripe for miniatures and exploration.
Who owns Prince of Persia these days, though?
Ubisoft, maybe? I don't know.
And who own them? Yeah. You've got to go all the way up before
the devil
you find
owns Ubisoft.
EA.
It's all Activision.
It's all Activision.
All the way down. A whole range of harem girls and slave girls.
Oh, I love that.
All based on the film.
That Vizier.
Anybody who reads Pratchett will know. I don't know what it is, but you give a man a turban with a pointy hat in the middle and call him a vizier, and they all turn into bastards.
This is the way.
As Cohen the Barbarian says, as soon as I find one, I kill him. It saves time later. This one wears a big golden mask, and he was not a nice man either. Yeah, so a whole range of Eastern assassins and characters. And I mean, for things like...
those are brilliant. Yeah.
Ghost Archipelago and things like that, where you're playing in strange, dusty foreign lands and jungles and stuff. Having a whole crew of these would just be fantastic.
Oh yeah, this is a Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago crew in one place, isn't it? Really. Mm-hmm. Oh my god!
I mean, the characters are really, really nice.
I've just seen the snake monster. So.
Oh right, I thought you just spotted Callie.
I mean, that's cool, but
I
the
spot
snake
Callie.
monster.
And this is the bit where it's,
That's so weird.
part snake tiger god avatar. You just
Quick, we need to build a monster.
With an armadillo for a back.
Yeah.
you just
I
see Ray
have
Harryhausen posing
half
it.
an action man and
A lot of Play-Doh.
a lot of Play-Doh. Yeah.
That's gorgeous, especially
it's
if you've
really
seen
cool.
the Sinbad films. I'm probably going to have to get her. I don't know why. I do have Indiana Jones. She could spend her time chasing Indy around a board.
Yeah.
That would
Rather
teach
than
her.
a big boulder,
Hmm.
have the avatar of Kali chasing him.
Golly, ma.
Yeah.
And again, more tiny people.
That's a really fun collection of stuff for
Yeah.
kind of taking fantasy in a little bit of a different direction. I really like that.
There is one other range, which is, I suppose, produced under license. It's Anna Polinska of Gardens of Hecate fame.
Oh.
So I know she has a UK distributor
Uh-huh.
and a US distributor. The US one is like Smash Bash, which tends to be just lots of kit bash and painted stuff at very expensive prices. Like if you want this bespoke, weird guy on a horse that I've made out of 101 parts, then you can have it for like $250 type of thing.
Mhm.
I think there's only like a couple of models that Anna has sculpted in there that I could find. But this is pretty much the range of stuff that she put together, which is very Hieronymus Bosch meets Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Very much. It's the stuff you would have seen in the margins of the Mordheim rulebook.
So you got your creepy blood fiend, giant skull horse on the body of a very small thing with no arms, just running about and headbutting people.
He needs to stop horsing around.
He went there. He didn't have to go there, but he went there. Let's get shot of them. The Custodian Wraith, I really like. It's just this little. I mean, you expect the cloak to be revealed, and this very tall, spindly thing just keep unfolding and stand up.
Oh
to be
yeah,
twice your
that'd
size.
be cool. Yeah.
That'd be a particularly good way to creep you out.
Yeah.
There's a hairy Oreo with massive nutsack coming at you
twist and dip.
out of the dark. I love them. They're just so random as far as familiars for your wizards go. It doesn't look bipedally human. Not every familiar has to be just a tiny midget version of whatever. I like the weirdness.
It feels very much like if the Monty Python animator had decided to do
Gilligan.
some body horror.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. There's also things like this.
A demonic snail.
The demonic snail. Anna's done a few demonic snails, and they all seem to actually use real shells as a basis and then go from there. But he's looking so tiny little snail critter. Evil face on the front.
You step on me, you die.
That's that snail that's been chasing people on the internet. You get £1 billion, but you're chased permanently by a snail. It will never stop coming. But yeah, then the set of signposts, then obviously small, medium, and large.
These
Perfect.
look amazing for like forbidden psalms and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a really interesting little range. I heard recently that there's going to be another Kickstarter to expand this range
Oh, brilliant.
in March or April, I believe.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just thought it was something fascinatingly different to share.
Very quirky and odd. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Thank you. So that's our indie of the week for this week. Harwood Hobbies of Canada. And I know it's not pronounced that way, and I know it really annoys some people in the chat. So, right, we should be back with some news very shortly.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, we are back to take a look at some news, and we're going to kick things off with Battlefront and some new releases for the Red Dawn in Team Yankee. So what are we looking at, Ben?
So over the last weekend, we got to see a couple of additional releases, kind of for those that are fighting back against the Soviet invasion of America. And also then the Soviets got a bunch of big guns as well, because of course they did. But sort of trying to hold back the Soviets, we got a new set of infantry, essentially, with the militia group set. It comes with a variety of different weapons, as you can see there. You've got your AK-47s, you've got your RPGs, you've got everything else in the mix. As the folks at Battlefront said, you may notice a few of those particular characters from a certain movie, perhaps.
Maybe, perhaps. Discuss.
But yeah, so you're going to get a whole bunch of those to add into the mix on the tabletop. It's not just that one little set. You get a bunch of those to put onto different bases and stuff to fight around football stadiums and baseball stadiums and everything else in between as well. To help them in their endeavors, because you're going to need something to transport you around and avoid all those big tanks. You have some pickup trucks. So if you wanted to get some technicals onto the tabletop, you can do, with a bunch of machine guns and stuff mounted on the back of them. So you can head around the streets of America, gunning down Soviet troops that are trying to take your country from you. God damn it. And all that kind of good stuff. You get a decent set of those. I think you get 4 in the set, but then you can sort of expand it out and get more and more if you want as well. I think it would be amazing to have a proper Red Dawn style battle played out with that really nice sort of grid pattern to the kind of like American suburbs, and then have all the big Soviet vehicles pushing through and the helicopters going on overhead. And then you've got all of the militia groups sort of fighting between the houses and trying to take certain streets and that kind of thing. Could be very cool indeed to see that.
I can see Shay right now thinking to himself, we need to secure Burger Time.
Ramirez, protect the Burger.
That's such a good bit of that game. Oh my god, yeah,
that's the map I'm looking at making a table of Burger Town to play Team Yankee on.
That would be so cool. There you go. There they are, the Wolverines. Kicking ass.
Find that because
God, look at that hair.
It was great.
But, yeah, some very cool options there for your people fighting back against the Soviet invasion. But as for the Soviets, they get to play around with some big kit. So you've got the ASU-85 assault gun company that you can pick up as well. Low profile, perfect for hunting down, not wabbits, but other armored vehicles and Wolverines, yeah. There's also the BPRD platoon as well, which gives you a variety of different options for taking out stuff in the air and on the ground. So a nice little option there as well. And then rounding things off, we also have the 2S9 Nona SSP gun mortar battery. What a name. God, I love military naming.
Biscuits Brown.
Which is another big vehicle with a big, healthy gun on the front of it for taking out enemy troops on the tabletop. So that kind of brings to the end. I think it's the first big wave of stuff that we're going to be doing for Red Dawn. Kind of caps things off for the Soviets to give you pretty much everything you need to use. Then you've got that core set, and then you've got all these different sets you can dive in and pick up, as well as a few of the direct-only stuff that we have looked at in the past, I think, as well. And then you have, as I say, you've got the militia groups and the pickup trucks and everything as well. So you can play out a proper Red Dawn scenario now on the tabletop and have some fun with the game, which I think is really awesome. And I would assume we're going to be seeing a bit more of this in the rest of the year from Battlefront. There's lots of things planned. So yeah.
I would imagine so, as long as they don't go too far and do the remake.
Oh yes, is that Chris Hemsworth one? Is it? Yeah,
It's got one of the Hemsworths in it. I'm not sure who, but yeah, no, stick with the 80s. It was much better then. Everything was better in the 80s. I'm just waiting to see whether or not Powers Booth gets a model for the military commander on the ground.
Oh, maybe.
He was a distinctive character. I like that. But yeah, lovely looking stuff from Battlefront.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if they're going to go back and when they did things like Arnhem and the 101st, they had unique rules for specific people. So Shifty Powers as a sniper and Winters and Frost and you know, they all had little additional rules beyond what you would normally get for their stands as just a generic sniper or generic commander. That allowed them to do extra things, and I'm wondering if they're going to do something for the Wolverines, for the militia.
That would be cool. Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
it all depends how closely / loosely they're tied to the name and the IP, I suppose. But anyway, time will tell. Time will tell. Right. Next up, we're going to go dee-dee-dee-dee.
Yes. I love that jingle. Oh my God, it takes me back.
Yep. Stuck in everybody's head now.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a few more mutants dropping into Marvel Crisis Protocol in the near future. Atomic Mass Games are going all over the place. They've been doing all sorts of weird stuff over the last little while. But yeah, Emma Frost and Psylocke are going to be coming together in a new set that will be releasing quite soon. It's up for pre-order right now. The pack comes with 2 versions of Emma Frost, so you get her in her sort of classic human form, essentially, using her mind powers. And then you have the diamond form of her as well, because she can turn herself into organic diamond to deflect even the most deadly of weapons. But then you also have the very cool, I guess the modern essentially it's the modern version of Psylocke, more than the older one that a lot of people actually quite like, apparently, according to what was said in the comics. But yeah, you get the new version of Psylocke leaping forward, using her psychic abilities in a little bit of a different way to turn it all into that sort of energy blade that you see there for cutting down people. She also, of course, has her badass regular sword as well, leaping over the fallen remains of a sentinel, as you can see there.
Yeah.
So
it's everywhere in the background.
Yes, exactly.
Legs and arms are good.
Yeah. Whichever side of the mutant coin you come down on, you're no doubt going to be fighting to stop the Sentinels from destroying everything you hold dear, which will be very cool to see on Tabletop. Talking of kind of affiliations and stuff as well, because obviously you could go down different routes. You could, have them as the X-Men or everything in between. Emma Frost is also going to get a card to include it in the Hellfire Club.
I was just about to ask, because I know she's got the X-Men logo on her clasp, I suppose, on her brooch or pin or whatever you want to call it. But I'm going, I really want to see the Hellfire Club.
Well, there is an affiliation card in this set that allows you to play her as part of the Hellfire Club. Seems strange for her to have the affiliation without a few more members, perhaps, of the Hellfire Club. So it'd be cool to see more of them coming down the line. But it certainly points to some interesting things for Mutant Crisis Protocol in the next couple of months. And everybody loves X-Men and mutants. So give us more, please.
I wonder who else will be joining, because they did resurrect / change up the Hellfire Club with Emma and a few other members more recently. But it was something terrible like the East India Trading Company type of thing. It was like the Hellfire Trading Company.
Right.
So it's not the classic old Hellfire Club that I remember. Right. I want my old Hellfire Club. I want to see all sorts of people in there. Set part of the world.
What's quite nice with the stuff that Atomic Mass Games is they tend to look at like older stuff and newer stuff at the same time and kind of bring together different elements of that. Like we saw that with the last stuff that they did. What's his name? The alien Beta Ray Bill. You know, not a lot of people know who Beta Ray Bill is, but they dropped him into the mix. Which is pretty cool. So yeah.
Well, he is worthy of wielding.
He is.
Meow meow.
Beat up Thor in a contest.
Did, yeah.
What an alien.
Odin gave him his own version of Meow Meow to take with him. Yeah. He even appeared on the side of the massive monument in
not Love and Thunder.
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok,
yeah. He's up there with the Hulk. Just as little teaser circle thing. But yeah, I'll be interested. I mean, they do have, obviously they've got Jean Grey.
Yeah.
Can be part of it from whenever they were doing the old classic Hellfire Club bit. So potentially you could have Jean in there as well, whenever she was being mind melted. So that could be funny.
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix and Emma Frost just both kicking the living toys out of anybody.
Everything on the tabletop.
I mean, when's that going to be bad? I can't see that ever being bad ever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm quite in for that. Right. But that's going to be some point in the future, and it's all supposition. Let's take a look at something that's about to come out.
Yeah.
So the pre-orders have launched last weekend for Parabellum's newest army, the City States.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so the trailer for this is amazing in of itself. But this, we talked about these a couple of weeks ago. I think they were the kind of the big main feature of the show, where we talked about the new faction and what was coming. And a lot of those kind of miniatures are available now. I think everything bar the big Titans is pretty much on the way for everyone to pick up, which we'll have a look at in a second. But I am loving the fact that Parabellum are going down this route of just being like, hey, we've done kind of, dwarves, we've done orcs in a way, we've done the undead. Let's now just take awesome, cool things from history and mythology and bring them to the tabletop. And you get to see a lot of that in this video. There's some bits in this where I'm like, oh man, I can't wait for that guy to be a character or that person to be a character.
The interesting thing for me is obviously Parabellum, Greek company, all Greeks, and it's almost like they went, we'll not do Greek first. We'll give us time to bed in, get an idea of what we're doing, sort everything out, fix the flaws, any issues with sculpting, all the rest, because we don't want to mess it up. Do Romans first.
Make sure the Greeks are the best.
Yep. So the video is worth a watch anyway, because essentially they just sit and explain how the Greeks are the best in every way, shape, or form. Everybody else is terrible, but they're amazing.
I want those guys. Oh God! So
you can have those guys. Look, there's Liam Neeson.
Does that mean we get a Henry Cavill as well? Because
was he in that?
He was, yeah.
Oh man,
wasn't he the?
I have no idea.
Oh no, because he wasn't in Clash of the Titans. He was in a different one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
No,
Zeus and
Sam
Ralph
Worthington
Fiennes.
was he?
Sam Worthington played
Sam Worthington
Perseus,
was Perseus. That was it. Yeah.
And Ralph Fiennes played Hades.
That's the one.
But yeah,
well, we'll have them, please. No. The thing that was really nice about these, and it's something that I've only really noticed now that we've seen the painted versions of the miniatures, is I love this mix of the fantastical with almost this kind of magical archaeotech kind of stuff going on.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool.
There's a very almost clockwork / moving parts going on with the likes of the shields and the armor and bits and pieces like that. I suppose it comes to, they had Ancient Greece had steam engines and stuff that they used as like fun little trinkets. So the idea of sort of spinning bronze and stuff
makes sense.
So you just take the next step and go, well, what if they launched themselves wholeheartedly into this with some magic as well? And you get some absolutely cracking looking characters.
Yeah. So you got the Polemarch there, Aristarch, which are your two kind of standard HQ characters for the moment. And then you get your kind of troops. So you've got your hoplites and your phalangites as well. So we talked about these previously, but they're your kind of rank and file city-state troops that have been brought up to fight. And then the phalangites are your veteran warriors. And then there's the two versions of the Minotaurs as well. So you've got the Haspits and the Therians. So you've got two different versions of them. You've got the big, burly ones with the shields acting as your bulwark on the tabletop. I really prefer this paint scheme to the one that they did in the preview document as well, actually.
Right.
I think the darker skin, looks really nice. And then you've got these ones as well, charging forward to smash people up with axes and hammers.
Weirdly, I preferred the lighter skin. I don't know what it is. I just think there's slightly more contrast on the lighter one.
I suppose that's true.
But, it's teach to their own. We'll not fall out about it.
No.
As long as they don't look like Frisian heifers.
Well, yeah, let's not do that. Yeah. They're evil cows. They're the worst cows.
They are the absolute worst cows.
Yeah. And then there's also the 2-player starter set, which you can win. See what we did there? Which comes which comes with the city-states and the Nords in it. I've seen a lot of people being like, I've always really wanted a Nords army. And I've also got a friend who quite likes the new city-states models. Marriage made in heaven. Go and buy this together with a friend and have fun. So.
I hate this because I like both.
I believe those characters are only available in
they are only available in that set.
I'm going to have to get the set. Because they're the two factions that I like, that aesthetically I like the look of the most. So.
They're very cool. Yeah.
Excuse me.
I think it's one of those sets, and it's what I think it's two of those armies where I think for the majority of it you can look at the whole range and be like, I think I like the majority of this, because I think there's some maybe perhaps within the Conquest range where you're like, I really like maybe 40-50% of these models, and then maybe not some of the other ones. I think for a lot of people these are the two armies that are like, I think I love everything. So yeah, very cool.
Who would have thought Vikings versus Greeks would be such a draw? Huh? Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, you get a Jotnar in that set as well. What's not to like? I mean, that's amazing. Yeah,
which is filth. But I'm going to go out to them and say, if he's in there, it's to counteract these guys.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so they must be right up there.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because they're all dual kits, so you don't have to go hoplite, phalangite, and
it's a hoplites, two units, the phalangites, etc.
Yeah. Phalanges.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do next. It's going to be very cool.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see where the rest of this month goes, because obviously they're finishing off their Living World. There's another week left. Yeah, 27th of January that finishes. If you haven't voted for what the new army will be in a year or so, you can still do that, because they've started to do some of the concept art and a few renders of heroes and stuff as well for the 3 factions. At the moment, my poor dogs of war are languishing far behind. When last I looked, hell and the unusual amalgam of people at the base of the world tree were ramping away with it. However, the Sorcerer Kings were quite close to them. But there was a bit, it was like, 40-odd%, 30-odd%, 16% way off in the past for the self-swords. It's like, it's so far back, they're never reaching it. But, there's still time. Maybe there'll be a massive swing the last week.
Right, when more of the concept art stuff comes out, maybe that'll swing people's opinions and stuff. So, yeah.
Should see that. I believe if you go to Parabellum's website today, as you're watching this, it updates on a Friday, so you'll be able to see the newest bit. And then next week will be how the armies are due to play. I believe the concept behind the actual thing, which could change everything, because at that point people go, "Oh no, Dogs of War is the way to go." If I want an army that's really that style of play,
they do all the things I want.
They do all the thing, whatever happens to be. They'll look at hell and go, dragon people and a couple of dwarves and some. It's not for me. Bit too much sitting back and burning. I don't know. Anyway,
I quite like dragon people, but okay.
No, don't. Foot sell swords. Don't make me mix up.
Dragon
accounts for all of you.
Win. There we go.
Right. So a lot coming from Parabellum over the next week/months, and obviously the City States will be a big part of that. So hopefully we'll get a few bits and pieces under camera for them in the not too distant as well. Having a look, however, at the world of historics.
Yeah.
And Wargames Atlantic.
Yeah, they're pretty much doing everything, it seems. I don't think they can be stopped. There is endless amounts of stuff coming out of Wargames Atlantic because someone on their team has gone, "Hey, 3D printing, this 3D printing is amazing. Let's just do it."
Is that, or they found a big case of Panzer Chocolade somewhere?
Maybe.
Just been feeding it.
Obviously, their Atlantic digital collection has been growing and growing and growing over the last couple of weeks, and they're always doing amazing stuff for their Patreons and stuff. But they've also done a really nice sort of dual release sort of thing with the only games section of the My Mini Factory sort of empire, I guess, where they're providing a whole bunch of these 3D prints in 3D printed resin for you without the need to have one at home, essentially. And the 4 packs that they've been working on recently include the female French resistance, as you see there, which are looking very awesome. I particularly like the lady who's lighting her cigarette because she's just killed a bunch of Nazis. Amazing. And also the one who's riding into town on her bike with her pistol at the ready, which I thought was a nice little addition into the mix. Very cool.
I wonder if it's a specific set, like these are the models that will be printed, or if they just print you all the bits, because I know in the digital version it's the core bodies and then all the arms and heads are separate, and you can sort of mix and match, or the arms are separate.
I think it's essentially you get the kit and you just got to glue it together. I think so. Put it together. It's whatever that is over on the My Mini Factory page is essentially translated into. We just print these for you, as far as I'm aware, anyway. People can tell me if I'm wrong. There's also a set for Lawrence of Arabia, who's planning a revolt of his own. So you've got a whole range of different versions of the character there, which I think is really nice. That is one of those films that I've watched a couple of times, and I'm fairly sure I remember very distinct bits of it, like occasionally, but never the film in its entirety.
Never the film in its entirety.
I've been to his house.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah.
Excellent.
Did you stay for tea?
No.
Is
There
it,
was, however, a tank gun range just like a mile away from it, so I was just listening to that happening, and everyone else was like, "You're not joining the tour," and I was like, "There's a tour."
I hear bangs.
I hear
bangs in the
bangs.
distance.
But,
That's quite nice. If you're going to go for the Arab Revolt as well,
exactly. Yeah.
there's Ottoman heads in their digital range that you can use with the plastic World War I Germans who's lurking just over here on the screen to turn them into the Ottomans to fight against them. So you can do your Arab Revolt in that way.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Talking of revolting people, there are also the peasants who are often doing that.
Revolting.
So if you're looking to throw these into some medieval games, or perhaps even something fantastical, you could use these in your games as well. You get a nice selection of very angry villagers who are probably not liking the fact that you're deciding to raid their town or village for supplies, or take over their houses to live in as you go on the march to war or something. So you wanted to stage a little bit of an interesting scenario, perhaps in something like the Barons' War.
You
could use these. Yeah, would be very good. You got them. Some of them armed with, actual weapons. Some of them armed with not so accurate and useful weapons, but I'm sure you could still do someone with a pitchfork, probably.
You say actual weapon. I don't think that is an actual weapon.
Well, I don't think it is, no.
I think it's used for threshing corn probably to get the stuff off it. So, yeah. But he's armed with an apple.
He is. Yeah. Throw that at someone.
Yeah.
Knock them out.
Yeah.
Knock them off a bridge into a river.
And then get your pitchfork friends to hold them under. Yeah.
I also quite like the idea that maybe that lady at the bottom who's trundling forward that wheelbarrow with the cart on it, that's actually probably got like explosives or something in it, or like burning oil or
just
something.
Just filled with oil, yeah.
Yeah. And she's about to go and dump that on some troops. I think that'd be really cool.
Roll it down the hill.
Yeah. But a nice section of different options there for those people who want to play around with interesting scenarios and stuff in their games. And then last but not least, we also have their classic fantasy orcs. So Wargames Atlantic have done fantasy goblins up until this point, which have a same feel and aesthetic and stuff. And this kind of obviously falls into line with that. You've got that sort of I'm trying to remember the name of the artist. There's a particular Lord of the Rings artist who did amazing stuff for the Middle-earth role-playing game, like way back in the day. His name escapes me now, unfortunately. But this art very much marries up with that, and a lot of that kind of old Tolkien-esque style of artwork from the day. So if you wanted to go down that route, you could obviously do that. But of course, these are essentially very generic in that regard. So you could use them for any games you're playing. Bit of Oathmark, for example, would be really good. Or Kings of War as well. Use it for that. But
it's nice to see those as well, considering the goblins have been kicking around for a little while now, and you can have them mounted on Spydroos if you want as well. So you can have goblin infantry, goblin cav. They just need some solid hard hitters in the middle of the lines. And a nice range of weaponry on them as well, from spears, bows, some sort of massive halberd, I believe that is. But
and if you go for the 3D printed versions of these, as in the 3D print STL file versions of these, obviously you get all of these bits, so you can make as many regiments as you like, which is always nice. So very
fantastic
cool
stuff. It's interesting to see what they're going to do next, because they're
who knows from week to week.
I think I want to say the next release is due today. It may even already be up by the time you're watching this. But there really is no stopping them from whenever they went, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do some digital stuff for in between the plastics, because plastics take a while to get to market. And I think everybody expected a small amount of figures, or maybe the occasional,
like a couple every month.
or like an add-on pack for something they've already released. Like here's some new arms or new heads. No, they've just put
released entire armies, essentially.
They just put the foot down and just went accelerated over everybody's expectations. So whether you after heads and alternate arms, or characters for the halflings, or in some cases, full units, it's all
just as long as they give me my World War I Brits.
Yes,
I'm fine.
Yeah,
so.
They are coming. We all know they're coming. We've seen Matt Lee's test paint jobs for the box art already. So they're on their way. Don't worry. Calm down.
I need them.
Even a little Italian tankette, John.
Oh.
Yeah.
You two could donut around the place in a teeny tiny little, it's the equivalent of a Fiat in the tank world. But anyway, interesting stuff. And yeah, it'd be fascinating to see what people are going to be using some of the stuff for. I was looking at the female partisans there because 0200 hours, I think, is going to be releasing partisan rules.
Yep.
So you can have your insurgents and your OSS sort of stuff kicking around very shortly. So having a lot of people running around and doing some sabotage missions behind enemy lines could be fun. Right, where are we off to next then?
So next up, we're going to be looking at Art of War Studios, who have been playing around with more of their MDF terrain. This is a set that they have actually been working on for a little while now, but it essentially it fills the gap that a lot of people have found between wanting to play boarding actions and then going, oh, it costs that much, does it? So this is a set that can be picked up in two sizes, essentially. So you can either pick it up in Galore Dark set size, essentially, which is for the Kill Team set that came out recently. Or you can pick it up for boarding actions, and that gives you all of the terrain that you would have got from the big plastic kit that Games Workshop did, but obviously in a cheaper MDF. That doesn't mean that it's less detailed. As you can see here, they have still etched in a whole bunch of awesome detail and created opening doors and little bits of scatter terrain and all that kind of good stuff as well. It's exactly as modular as the plastic set is from Games Workshop too. So if you are looking to use this for the official games from the first Arcs of Omen book, then you can do that. There's a little breakdown of all the different components you get in the set as well. But as you can see, it scales really nicely as well. Has a really nice kind of daunting feel to it. Makes you feel like you're playing inside the interior of a space station or something like that. As was also pointed out by a lot of people, if you picked up one of these sets, for example, I think they're around 60, 70 quid, which is pretty good compared to the 130 for the plastic kit. You just need to essentially then have squared paper or, a gaming mat that has reasonable dimensions on it or something, and then just put the cubes out and you'd be pretty much ready to go, essentially, because all of this kit that you get here matches up to the plastic ones. So it should just be a case of looking at the layout in the Arcs of Omen book and then just matching it up, essentially, really, which is pretty cool. So yeah, if you're looking for a little bit of a alternative, perhaps, to the plastic range from Games Workshop, I would recommend going to have a look at the stuff from Art of War, because they do really fun little kits, really. So
it's a lot of wood.
It is.
You're going to want simple to put it together, mind you.
Well, yeah, it's just essentially two sides, and then the clips to keep it standing up, really. So yeah, which is a lot better than a lot of MDF terrain as well, which can be a little bit fiddly. But yeah, so
I like chunky. Chunky means robust, means it will survive contact with me. Chucking it in a box when I'm finished playing. Yeah. I really like the fact that I really like the way that they've done the modular system, where essentially you've got the little different bits on the top, and then you just click that little square bit on the top, and that keeps it all together. And then you can hook the bits. There's hooks going into the columns.
Yeah,
to the
columns. Cool. Yeah,
but there's 56 walls separate. Ports, blah, blah, blah.
So that's the big one there.
Doors. Yeah. So 70, 80, 100, 104 walls. Oh, no, it's not. It's 56 columns. Sorry. So 48 walls plus 56 columns. Still substantial.
Yeah.
What size, because this was asked the other day by somebody, what size does boarding actions play out on that?
I genuinely don't know.
4.
I think it comes on a boarding action size board. So whatever, Games Workshop, whatever Games Workshop have determined is the boarding action size tabletop.
So it'll be something weird like 22 3/4 inches by 37 1/8.
We'll know for sure when companies like Deep Cut have got the boarding action set and then have measured it and made mats for it. So
that's good.
That's what we're waiting for, essentially. So yeah.
Well, Crispin, if you're watching, take that as your rough guide for the internal structure of your ship.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's currently making his ship is 5 foot 2 inches at the moment.
Okay.
With an internal deck that he plans on putting corridors in for boarding actions.
Well, there we go.
So I imagine that will fit inside that, Crispin. You go. Be all that you can be. We look forward to seeing the pictures in the project in the future.
Do it now.
Yeah. So sticking with the grim dark of 40k.
Yes.
We have some actual Games Workshop news.
Yeah. So Cadia stands again with the release of essentially all of the stuff that we saw in the big army set last year, plus a range of the new releases to go alongside the Codex. So leading the way is Zach Brannigan. Lord Solar Leontus.
Right.
I always get that confused.
It's because of his velour suit. That's why. Velour.
Yeah, so you've got Lord Solar there on his mechanical horse, leading the way into battle, looking very resplendent on the back of that. I suppose, I wonder if someone in the design team was like, and we'll mount him on a horse. And then someone said, well, people just complain that they'll get shot and die. We make it a mechanical horse.
Maybe they just had the files left over from the old Imperial engineer on mechanical horse.
Maybe.
That's right. You know what?
Right.
It's practically good enough to go already.
Pretty much.
What's wrong with that? The fact that they decided to add a real tail to it is a bit weird. I just imagine
maybe there's a very small pony
herds
inside
No, just huge herds somewhere off in the galaxy, and they just spend all their time docking their tails and gluing them on the mechanical horses. They're only kept for their tails.
Yeah. Or there's a bunch of angry furries who've just lost all their kit. There's also Lord Castellan Ursula Creed as well.
She is the only model from this release I'll be buying.
She's very cool as well. I love that they've even gone to the lengths of mimicking the look of the old Creed with the two pistols on the front of his belt. Which I think
you mean
really
her daddy?
Awesome. Oh, yes, her daddy. Yeah, her dad, who's somewhere locked in a Necron vault still, I think, probably. So, yeah, very cool.
They say he's dead, but...
Yeah.
Never say never.
They say Yarrick is dead, but I'm pretty sure he's next to Creed in a Tesseract vault too.
Yeah. He'll fight his way out of that vault sometime soon. Yeah. But yeah, so you got her leading the way. She can give like additional orders to her troops as well to keep them fighting at the height of their capabilities. You also then got your kind of standard troops as well. So you got the Cadian command squad marching forward into battle with a range of different options on there. You picked up the Cadian set, didn't you, John?
2 of them.
You've got 2 of them. 2 of them. Yeah. Did you find it was a fun little kit and stuff to play around with and things?
Yeah, the command squad's nice.
Yeah.
I initially thought the Voxcaster looked absolutely stupid with that antenna.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not actually that bad once you see the miniature up close and all.
Yeah.
He's cool. I still have my second command squad that I haven't built yet because I have no need for a second one.
No need for
options, I guess.
Squad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They changed the structure of Imperial Guard, haven't they? You don't need command squads for every troop.
No, you don't need a platoon commander to take 2 squads of minimum 2 squads of infantry with it anymore.
Okay, that's a shame.
All that flavour gone.
You should see how many command squads my Praetorians have. Jesus. I think I've got about 50 men just in command squads. Well, say to me. Not like I'll be used anytime soon anyway.
Yeah. You've also got your shock troopers as well. So you've got your Cadian shock troopers that come with all the different options that you'd expect. You've got a couple of special weapons in there. You've got your Voxcaster unit. You've got your sergeants and stuff. And there's a nice mix of both male and female heads in there as well for you to make different troopers. This obviously then goes in line with the upgrade kit that they've also been talking about recently as well, that was leaked, and then obviously Games Workshop going to talk about it properly, which is going to be coming down the line as well. So watch out for that. You've got your heavy weapon squads there. You've got your field ordnance batteries and everything too. So these are essentially a little bit like the older kits, but they've just replaced some of the crew with the new models and stuff as well.
They've made them look so much better.
Yes.
The field ordnance batteries are my favourite.
They're so cool.
Colour us surprised, John.
I like that even...
What was it that drew you to the massive ordnance?
I like that even in the grimdark future, someone still has to stand there with a little hand wheel to lift up the the guns. To
bed it down.
Yeah.
Are you going to spend money on an automatic system though?
Think of how many they've got to build. You have to view the Imperium as pretty much Soviet Russia when it comes to actually their kit.
Yeah.
How cheaply can we get this out there?
Let me put it in another way, right? If you own a camper van, you have to wind down the feet on it. But you could spend another $3,000 to have the camper van do it itself.
Multiply that out across the Imperium. I mean,
Exactly.
Yes.
that's a whole other
And
Star
now we know
Destroyer.
why it's a hand crank. Yeah. But yeah, so you got your big guns there, as you would imagine, and then sort of capping things off for the kind of like real new stuff. We have the Sentinel, which has been sort of updated in design there. So you've got the kind of scout variant there, and then the slightly more armored version with a bunch of heavy weapons, and then that little chainsaw for cutting people up.
Stabby.
As I said in the article, I don't know how useful it'll be because it looks like a little T-Rex arm.
All you need to do is kneel down.
Yeah, but I would imagine when that's suddenly guts deep into a carnifex and you've managed to kill it, I think you'd probably be quite happy that you had it, probably. But there we go. But unless the carnifex ripped you to pieces before then, I suppose.
I think we know how that's going to go.
Yeah, and then there's also the Rogel Dawn battle tank, which is their big new tank that John has just blared at. I thought you would have liked some of that. It's got loads of stowage on it. People love stowage, John.
Stowage is fine, but when your tank looks like a piece of crap, I don't care.
Fair enough. Right? Yeah, sure. I'll take that.
It looks like something that was designed by France in 1928. Like,
That's
so harsh. It's very harsh. Like they've got a couple of flamers out front that you can hang your washing line across when you're not in battle.
Guns.
Yeah. There are a lot of guns on this thing.
Too many.
Yeah. It's one. It is perhaps maybe overladen with firearms. I think a lot of people are saying that for its points cost, it's not particularly great either.
No.
You might as well just run more Lehman Russes or a Bane Blade or something as well. So.
You may as well have a squadron of Lehman Russes because the current codex means that all their weapon choices are free.
Well, there
so
you
you're
go.
just paying for the base tank plus whatever sponsons you stick on it, but all the weapons are free.
Well, just
what's the point in having a big meat, like a bullet soak like that? Just nah.
Screw you, Dawn.
Yeah.
Russ
what
is
did you
the way
ever do for
forward.
the Imperium?
And yet, so as well as those releases, there's also going to be new stuff coming out for. They're doing like a repackaged of the Bane Blade. They're re-releasing the Primaris Psyker, doing a bunch of other stuff as well. You can also get your hands on the Codex properly for the first time this weekend by pre-order.
Presumably that one, which was the army one with the alternate covers, just gone.
No.
Is it still?
So the special one was the one with Leontus on the front, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's now gone. So yeah, and this is the kind of core one that they're doing now. So you get that codex. You can also buy the dice and the data cards as well.
So they're doing a special edition of the special edition copy of the codex.
Yes, they
It's
are.
the least special edition.
Yeah.
If you missed the first special edition, we got another special edition
We
for you.
heard you like special editions, so.
I'm not sure how much the full bleed artwork on the front actually helps it, to be honest. I mean, it looks nice, I guess, but I think it looks nice enough on the regular version of the codex.
You're not really missing anything on the regular version. Sometimes you miss things because they've got the overlays on it. In this one, it looks like they've just zoomed in and recolored,
make
it fit better.
Yeah, they did recolor it, didn't they?
But,
weird. Wacky people.
Certainly shows off the Imperium in all its finery, rushing forward as hordes of infantry being told, don't turn back by a commissar. So
you'll get shot in the head if you do.
Yeah. There's also the dice, as you can see there, and there's also a set of data cards as well. Yeah. So you can get everything you need now for playing as the Astra Militarum on the tabletop. I say the Astra Militarum. It's essentially playing as the Cadians, but
Cadia is still gone.
Yeah.
It blew up.
It hasn't come back there.
They got a new planet. They just literally called New Cadia.
I will say that Peachy over on the painting phase did a very cool video this week where he painted up the army set in like 12 hours, I think it was. I'll leave the video up to see whether or not he did it in time. But he painted them up in the city fight colors of the Cadians. And it's a really fun one because he shows us some really interesting tips for quickly painting vehicles and all that kind of stuff as well. So maybe go and check that out. Peachy's great. So there, go and watch that.
Wacky fun.
He escaped the monolith. And just like Creed did that one time when he was let out, I guess, actually.
Right.
There we go. So
enough conspiracy theorying about where characters from the Imperial Guard currently are. We're going to take a quick switch, and when we come back, we'll be looking at some 3D printing. Okay, we're here to round out the show, and we're going to be kicking things off with a look at some 3D printing.
Yes.
Interesting little selection you found there, young man.
Indeedy. Yeah. So this one was something just sort of, I was scrolling through the tribes selection over on my manufacturing house. Let's see if I can find something a little bit quirky. So this one is Primal Collectibles, who work on a whole range of very interesting sort of RPG, board gamey style stuff that might be quite handy for those people who like a little bit of kind of hero questy awesomeness on the tabletop.
I don't know what you mean.
Those particular colored rooms, maybe. So yeah, one of the things that they do is they do things like the busts and stuff that you can see there, but they also do a range of characters and monsters and all sorts of things in between for you to play out kind of awesome role-playing encounters and board game adventures on the tabletop and everything in between as well, which I think is really nice. They've kind of bundled them up into different sets and stuff, and they have that sort of very classic high fantasy feel to them for the most part. So they're the kind of things that you maybe would have seen in the player's handbook of something of 3.5 or Pathfinder or something like that.
There's a barbarian on one of the covers of the Dark Eye, the Schwarze Auge.
Yes, yeah.
He looks almost identical. They've just dwarfified him.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the one you're talking about. Yeah, especially with the winged helm and stuff.
With the winged helm, the axe, and the shield in that pose.
Yeah,
it's just screaming for us.
Mm-hmm.
He's quite cute.
It's a very interesting little selection that kind of at first sort of look, you're like, oh, it's just going to like standard RPG fare, really. But I think they've kind of built it up with some interesting little packs and stuff, especially with the monsters and things that they're thrown into it, and sort of the additional bits and pieces. So they do things like door sets and terrain and everything as well. So it's kind of a one-stop shop if you wanted to dive in and pick up like a bunch of stuff for playing out fun role-playing adventures on the tabletop, and theme things around a particular sort of vibe for your next campaign, for example, perhaps, which I think is really nice to see.
It's a nice looking throne.
I do like a good throne.
Yeah.
Because then you always think that, something terrible lives on it. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There's the terrible thing that lives on it.
Oh, somebody's made a terrible mistake. Don't come here. Get punched repeatedly in the face by a ogre with twin punch daggers on one hand. Yeah,
the way that I kind of viewed the stuff that they've done is almost a little bit like the packs that Steamforge do. Their epic encounters, where they kind of gone, here's a box that gives you maybe a bunch of characters, a bunch of monsters, maybe a section of different characters for you to play as, some terrain pieces and that kind of stuff. They give you the boards and stuff that you can play on if you want to print them out as well. And then they kind of go forth and adventure, which is always cool to see. And it helps out DMs, I think, especially DMs or storytellers or whatever, however you want to say it, that are kind of putting together adventures, because maybe if they have access to a 3D printer, they'll be like, boom, right, I want to do an adventure in the next couple of weeks. Let's focus it all around the Mirror Maze, for example, which is one of their sets. Cool. So I'll just download all the terrain for it, the characters and all that kind of thing. We'll dive in, we'll play through that adventure, and we'll have some fun. I just think it's a really nice way of doing things.
Take a look at some of these bundles. So our classic Heroes bundle contains all the heroes that are fit to print.
Yeah.
Barbarians, wizards, ranger, paladin, fighter.
Those do look really good too.
Yeah.
Card.
You know how we were saying to Shay that maybe we shouldn't show him anything that's quite nice to print? We've failed.
You tried your best and failed. The lesson is never try. Look, Argos.
I love Kravos there. He's so cool. Very Conan from the front of, I'm fairly sure, at least 3 or 4 books or graphic novels, I think. And Brumir as well is amazing with his cracked horned helm there as well, smashing someone up. Very nice. But yeah,
They are lovely classical adventurers,
mm-hmm.
and their essential enemies contain. I mean, I wouldn't say any of these were essential. I wouldn't want to see any of these. Generally, my groups, they get murdered to death by kobolds in one of the outer sanctums. They never get to see anything like this further down.
But obviously, what's quite nice about that set, maybe if you play a little bit of Hero Quest, there's your sorcerer that you'll know from the original Hero Quest in the middle, very not Skeletor, alongside, Chaos Warriors, Orcs, Fimir, Goblins, Undead, the Gargoyle, that's also kind of like a demon as well. So they've definitely gone in and gone, wouldn't it be fun if we did this, but with a twist? There's even skeletons with scythes and all that kind of stuff as well. So, yeah, it's a nice little set, I think. Oh, I love that one.
Freezing Darkness, too, can deal with ice yetis, gargoyles, and giant bears.
I've always wanted to play a were creature or were character in D&D. And just do like a big werebear. Yeah. Just run a barbarian, and then when he rages, he literally just turns into like a werebear or a werewolf or something. That would be a really cool way of doing it.
Really should. Don't let any GM stop you.
If only there were people who would let me play D&D rather than run it.
Problem is, Ben, if you were doing that and you were like, say, level 3 or something, would you not just turn into like a little scrawny, little fluffy thing?
Probably, yeah.
You'd actually have to have a higher charisma score, because then you could just charm people by being so cute.
Oh my god, yeah, that would be the good way. There's something very much like that in the second Kings of the Wild book, Bloody Rose, where the barbarian druid shapeshifter, he gets like performance anxiety, and so when he goes out into the arena and prepares to turn into a werebear, he's like charging forward, and then he just turns into a little bear cub and then rolls over. So it was really cool.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Look at that set of Dark Sorceress. That's amazing. Yeah.
They are good. Like this one, he's got a little familiar.
He does.
It's not just a horse skull with 2 legs and a set of balls, mind you. So, as we've already discovered, are the best types of familiar.
Yeah. But yeah, very cool stuff indeed from them. That covers a range of different things. I like that everything's kind of focused around a theme as well, which obviously works very nicely with the idea of them using tribes and Patreon and all that kind of stuff as well, which is always good to see. But, with a lot of people out there at the moment looking to do interesting stuff with role-playing games that maybe steps outside the bounds of what they've been doing before, maybe this is something you can come and have a look at, start to use these in your new games of Pathfinder or Fantasy Age. The other thing that I really like about this as well is that if, say, you're tracking initiative, rather than using just names on a board, use the busts. Use the busts as the initiative trackers, and away you go. No confusion. Then you can just see how it all goes in the mind.
Who's next? Well, I think you'll see.
Yeah, it's the Gremlins. But
yeah. There's some absolutely gorgeous bits of terrain in there as well. Is that a halfling based on Charles Bronson? Not quite. Which is a bit of a shame, because all I'm thinking now is Death Wish Bronson as a halfling, just with a massive crossbow pistol.
Wow! Yeah,
going room to room, dealing with the scum of the village.
Bronson and his faithful goat.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to think of Charles Bronson as a halfling now.
That's Baphomet.
Yeah, that might be Baphomet. Yeah. Or if anyone's seen Banshees of Inisherin. Suddenly love the idea of cute animals. So, cute companion animals. I was about
to quote something from it, but I can't because A, it's spoilers, and B, lots of swearing in it. So,
yes.
But yeah. But I think you know the one I'm talking about, Ben.
Yeah.
They are terrific. I quite like these with the classic style animation, which I suppose must be the concept art it came from.
Yeah, it reminds me of was it Dragon Quest, the video game, the kind of one where you'd you played as that knight. You had to go through the castle and would get burnt and then turn into a skeleton and stuff. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that kind of thing. So yeah,
Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair, that's the one. Dragon's Lair. Yeah, I played that a few times and absolutely sucked at it.
It's nice that there's the miniatures and the busts and all, but the boards fascinate me. So presumably that's just the files. Then you're going to have to get those printed.
Yeah, so I think you just print them out. You'd have to get them professional. Well, you probably have to get them to a professional printer to do out.
I was thinking that, I suppose, because people use virtual things, don't they? It's the whole big kick up is because everyone uses virtual things.
Yeah.
Maybe you just download them into something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know how technology works. Just download this into something and then use it virtually. That's how that works, isn't it?
As long as it's you'd assume it's going to be a high enough quality image that you could upload it into something and it would work nicely, with digital elements as well. So yeah,
digital elephants. I like that.
And because of the way that Roll20 and stuff work, you can make things in shadow and things, so you wouldn't be able to see all the rooms and stuff.
Sure.
So,
yeah. 100%. I know that. Yeah.
You saw that happen when we played that Psylocke World War II game. When we had like the...
Oh, right. Was that what you're choosing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody in America was pressing buttons and things sort of appeared.
Yeah, that's how we had line of sight to all things and couldn't see certain things.
Yeah,
Dear me, Jerry. Oh, dear.
I know what it is.
But yeah.
Anyway, so the current bundle then is Ogres for January.
Yep.
So if you want to have somebody creeping around on that massive throne, you can do this thing. Look at him. He's a brutal. Again, I was going to swear. I'm trying to be very good these days. Only because Justin twitches every time we swear because he has to go in and beep us.
True. Yeah.
So a nice set of figures. I was hoping for slightly more Ogres, though, because it is kind of Hero Quest-ish.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
You want a few more ogres to run about and club people whenever they're in your dungeon / ogre. It was Ogre King's Halls, something like that. I can't remember. It's been so long since I owned it. Anyway, a few more just sort of random, typical guard ogres. I mean, obviously, your nice ogre lord is cute, but I want a few more just randos to be battered to death by the heroes as they murder hobo the way through the dungeon. You can't have everything in life, I suppose. But yeah, lovely stuff. So that is Primal Collectibles. You can find them on My Mini Factory. And if you're interested in checking out their bundle for January, you've a few weeks left. Then I assume the price spikes afterwards if you're not.
I'll drop the links below. So I put a lot of work into those links. Better go click them.
Click them.
Yeah.
You just have to click that little bit that says show more. It's just like screeds of information that nobody looks at. Not saying it's a waste of your life there, but might be a little bit. Right, we have 2 Kickstarters to finish things off. What have you found?
So the first one comes from Albert, just Albert. And this is a fellow down in the Southern Hemisphere, I believe, in Australia, who has come up with a new fun little way of building together bits of terrain called Slice and Slot. So they have brought together, hello, Albert. As you can see, they quite like Middle Earth. That may have influenced the types of terrain that they've designed and why I picked them. But yeah, so this is a kind of hybrid kit that you can get, which comes with 3D printed elements, which are things like the doors and the windows and the gates and stuff like that, and things like the skirting around walls and things. And then the pack also comes with a series of jigs and templates alongside sets of XPS foam to then cut into wall sections and that kind of thing, and then build up your terrain pieces in a modular fashion. So one of the things that's really interesting that and how this came about was that there are obviously lots of ways for you to pick up doors and all that kind of stuff to go with terrain that you've made out of foam. But in many cases, they kind of either stick onto it or they don't hide the awkward bits from your cutting and all that kind of stuff. Well, this has been designed so that the slot element of the terrain kind of fits the foam in as you see here and hides all those kind of gnarly bits that you get on the side and kind of makes for a much snugger fit when you're building your terrain. And obviously, as you can see here, you use those guides as we've been doing there with knives or pencils and all that kind of stuff in order for you to build up interesting pieces of terrain very, very quickly. Obviously, you just then need to cut things out, glue it together with, PVA glue or anything in between, and away you go. Obviously, they're using a hot wire cutter here to cut out the doors and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen an example of a dude who just did it all with knives, essentially. He didn't use a hot wire cutter for anything, really. So you can get away with, and this kind of perfectly demonstrates the processes you're seeing, really. Boom, a wall done in very little time whatsoever. Just get the old foil out to make the little stone texture, and away you go. So, yeah.
Roll your ball of form, and away you go.
And the way that the Kickstarters broke down is that you can either go for the digital version of this, so you can just essentially get the STL files to get your hands on the doors and the windows and stuff, and you can just print them off yourself, especially if you have ready access to a lot of XPS foam or something, and you just want to, you've got all that lying around.
Yeah, you don't need the rest of the kit.
You don't need the rest of it. But you can also go for what they've called, I think it's the beginner hobbyist, where you actually will get the foam and everything else in between it and the jigs and everything like that as well. So you can actually just start essentially building it from one little kit, which I think is a really fun little idea. And it's just one of those things that is actually quite simple in execution, but provides you with a really fun and interesting way to build terrain quite quickly in many regards, which I think is really cool. And there's even
10 mil XPS.
There's even a exclusive miniature from Medbury Miniatures in there as well, which we've looked at as who also comes from down under. So if you're interested,
very Antipodean,
So if you're interested in building interesting terrain quickly and easily, then maybe come and have a look at the stuff from Slice and Slot and Albert.
The architectural details is the best way to put them, are beautiful. I have a rake of stuff from different companies, and they're all metal in the main. Some are resin, but they tend to be mostly flat. I mean, some of the metal ones are completely sculpted all the way around, but it's up to you to integrate them into your terrain build and like you say, mask the joins. It's a simple idea of having that sort of rebated section that the foam fits into, and then you get a really crafted look to the whole thing. It does hide a multitude of sins. I'd be interested to see how the windows and the like fit in, because it's easy to slide in from a side or a corner.
So there's a YouTuber, I think it's 3D Gaming Hobby or something. What you do is you cut out the section underneath the window, and then you cut the section out underneath the window in the foam, so as a block or whatever.
So you still slide it up,
and then you slide it up and in, and then you put the section back in, and then you just use pins to keep it there until it's all set and glued in, essentially. So it's a bit more fiddly, obviously, but it's not necessarily a massive.
It's not as fiddly as I initially imagined, where I was worried that it might be like two halves cookie cutter, and then you've got to make sure that whenever you push them from either side, that your print hasn't deformed, so that they all still marry up. It's still a solid piece. Because I mean, if you're building something with a stone brickwork there, you just need to go, right, well, I'll cut out a section and follow where your brick lines are going to go to really mask them if you want to, or not if you're less worried about masking joints like that.
I'll throw the example video of how the guy who isn't Albert built it, so you can have a look at it and see how they did
non-Albert version.
The non-Albert version of building it. Yeah. But they build up an entire scene essentially using that terrain to go alongside the rest of their Osgiliath stuff. So,
they're ramped away there through stretch goals quite rightly. The upcoming ones, the ruined ones, are quite interesting, because they'd obviously, for things like Frostgrave and the like, would be fantastic. Portcullis-based braced gates with.
Suddenly you've got either Gandalf trying to defend the doors against trolls, or you've got some kind of Helm's Deep gate going on. They've even done like grating and stuff for sewers and things, so you could do the little culvert that gets blown up by Saruman and stuff. So
balconies and
not that I've been thinking about it for Middle Earth or anything.
Of course not.
No, not a bit of it. Well done, you, for not thinking about that.
Yeah, I didn't think about that at all.
There you go. But excellent stuff. I like it. Different.
Yeah.
Clever.
Something a bit well smaller, done, but very cool. Yeah.
Compact and bijou, Mostyn. Compact and bijou. And then to round things off, we have Darklands Brutal Beasts.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So from tiny and small and quirky to big and monstrous and destructive. So Mierce Miniatures tend to do quite a few of these Kickstarters where they look to kind of get their new selection of monsters or their range of troops or characters out there into the world. This is essentially one of those. They have a new set of monsters that they've been working on for this Brutal Beasts campaign, but they're also hoping that through additional stretch goals and all sorts of other things, they'll be able to add even more to the Darklands range for you to use on your tabletops. There are some seriously big monsters in here. So there's like a new Jotun model, as you can see here, alongside the Gore Fiend there too. Each with their own wonderfully hard to pronounce names, alongside a whole host of the stuff that previously existed as well. But of course, as you can see there, they've got a bunch of fascinating new monsters, dragons, bears, and everything else in between to throw into the game. Now, as we've looked at in the past, I think we've looked at Mierce Miniatures in Darklands. It's a fairly substantially epic game in its own right, I think would be the best way to put it, with larger than life characters and then even larger monsters. So these Kickstarters are a fairly decent way of getting your hands on a bunch of different creatures and things that you could use in Darklands itself, or of course you could just use them for any other war game that takes your fancy, really. Use them for Oathmark or Kings of War as different options for your games. But yeah, a whole host of different things for you to go and pick up from this time around, as well as the existing back catalogue as well, which is always nice to see. There's one of mine that's particularly a particular favourite, which we'll see later on down the page. But as you can see there, demons, giants, trolls, hippogriffs, all sorts of different things are available for you to pick up, really. So
monstrous shambling tree men.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with Darklands. Interesting thing is that the sort of the time this has landed on Monday past, I think they've had to put a price increase because production costs were going up with the cost of resins and the like. So it means you can pick up a lot of stuff at a substantial discount, even if you're buying their back catalog.
There we go,
because you get money off on those. So post this, you're going to see the prices will be fairly significant in comparison. But the miniatures themselves are absolutely amazing.
Really are.
So much detail on them.
I like that kind of destroyer-esque Colossus. Kind of reminds me of the one from Thor, the original
Thor. Yes.
Yeah. Just sort of beaming everybody. Like that stuff. Yeah.
There are some. I mean, the blend of, I suppose, standard mythology meets absolute batshit insanity.
I mean, that one's just a big clumpy tree man.
The stump beast, which is some sort of spider tree. Or maybe it's a crab tree. I don't know where you get crab apples from. But where did that come from? I know it's not Irish myth. Maybe one of the other Celtic families wants to accept this into their life, but it's just.
Well, I mean, there's also Gog and Magog there, which is like a kind of Etin styled version of Gog and Magog from the Bible, Arthurian, and stuff. So very nice.
Look at them creeping around.
A big, massive rhino.
Bino.
A bino. So he did that.
Yeah. I mean
that's the not safe for work one, apparently.
Yep. They're not right.
My favorite is Lichdraka, which is the apparently it's the one. Keep going down, Jerry. Please keep going. There we go. Oh, lovely. So Lichdraka is apparently it translates as corpse dragon. So if you're looking to run a mighty, sage from Dark Age mythology who has summoned a big beast who is then able to bring the corpses of the dead back to life from their barrows, this is the way to go.
Yeah,
it just looks amazing.
Standing on top of a barrow that I hope his rider's going to come out of, and he's not just stopped off for a nibble. Yeah, snacking on some dead people.
I love that the text there is, "We will build him as big as we possibly can."
Yeah, I mean. I don't think that's a promise. That's more like a threat from Mierce, because their miniatures are absolutely insanely big.
Yeah.
You don't realize just how big they are. Thankfully, they always put measurements beside them, because when you're looking at the website, you're going, what sort of size is that? Then you look at the side and it goes 94 mil tall. And you're going, really? Oh my lord. I thought it was going to be like a little tiny, like little ogre set, but no, he's like twice the size and 4 times the girth. He's quite cool as well. So it's at least one for every faction / sub-faction within Darklands, I think is what they're looking to do. And presumably this will be accompanied then by some form of campaign or extended sort of book, because they have obviously Darklands and Bane Legions, but the fact that they're leaning so heavily on massive beasties leads me to believe that something is coming down the line. Their Greek style monsters are particularly nice. I was very, very tempted by Telos the other day. I had to restrain myself because I have no need for it. I was like, nah, go on. It's really nice. It'd be so easy to paint up. I could get the giant bull to go with it as well. What do I need a giant mechanical bull for? I don't need any of this.
Questions that everyone routinely asks themselves.
Yeah, well, I'm like that. I am like that. So it's already funded, so it's just a case of how many they unlock on their stretch goals as they go through
and stuff, pretty much.
But yeah. Buy all the monsters for £800, which is less than half the price.
I mean, that's pretty good, especially with Lichtrager in there as well, which is meant to be massive. So, although Gog Magog is also going to be huge.
I mean, none of them are going to be particularly small. I think they're all sitting on 100 to 110 mil rounds. So which is, I think, the biggest base they have for their game. So yeah, when you need to put things onto a base that big, it kind of gives you an idea of how big most of them are going to be stomping.
Face as big as my face.
And a lot of them have a tendency to overhang their bases. Really, the base is just something where their feet plant on, and then the rest of it just expands out from there, like a massive tree.
The base is more of a suggestion than
a suggestion than a rule. Yeah, that is it. Smashing stuff from Mierce once again. So both funded. 24 days left for Slice and Slot, and only 11 for Brutal Beasts if you fancy getting involved in that. And if you fancy getting involved with us, we'll be back on Sunday for our Cult of Games XLBS, where we're going to have some gentle hobby time amongst ourselves. You can come over to ontabletop.com and join in there with a 30-day trial. Otherwise, we shall return next Friday for more of the same. Until then, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.